introduction into the various pieces of glassware and equipment that you'll be using in an organic chemistry lab. Unlike first year, we use very specific equipment and very specific setups to encourage chemical reactions as well as the isolation and purification of material. So much of this will be new. We have assigned to each student a glassware kit. They have a myriad of equipment. We have round bottom flasks of different sizes, 100 ml round bottom flasks. You'll note that this light color here at the flask is, we call it a ground glass joint, and it allows for pieces of equipment to fit quite snugly together. We have a 100 ml round bottom flask, 50 ml, all the way down to 25 mils, and then up to 500 mils. And that's where we'll have the reactions being carried out. We have condensers, which I'll illustrate in a little in another video, for boiling of liquids and retaining of the solutions, and various other connectors for other purposes, and a separatory funnel, in which we use to isolate material. You'll be required to sign this out at the beginning of the term, and you'll be responsible for it during the year. In some labs, you'll have to share it with students in other sections. However, it is your responsibility and perhaps your partner's responsibility in the other lab to keep it clean and functional. Having said that, a lot of the reactions that we're going to be carrying out will be using round bottom flasks. They're round, they roll, and they do head to floor if you're not careful. To that, we have cork rings. Various sizes. This we can actually multi-purpose. You can put it this way, or it fits quite nicely with larger ones. I strongly encourage you never to put a flask on a benchtop. They'll roll, and they are quite expensive to replace. When they're not in cork rings, we like to clamp. Much like the clamps we used in first year. Simple clamp, retort stand, and I'll use this clamp. We have two types of clamps. We have a Erlenmeyer type flask clamp, which I prefer to use, but we also have 3-prong clamps that do have utility in this lab as well, and I'll show you that in a moment. So what I'm going to do is just show you the proper setup of a reaction vessel. All right, so clamp holder, clamp, round bottom flask. You can see that they do fit quite nicely. All right. I do encourage you to use these types of flasks, or these types of clamps for these flasks. You can see that it grabs it quite nicely. The flange of the round bottom flask is caught. It's not really going to go anywhere once I tighten this up. There is a difficulty if you use a 3-prong clamp. I'm trying to illustrate that. Students think that they're interchangeable, but they're really not. When I do this, and I snug it into place, problem that happens here is we only get partial retention with this upper prong on this clamp, as well as this bottom prong of the clamp often comes into contact with the side or the widening of the flask, and this is far less secure. So they do have their place, these straight prong clamps, but they're not to be used for clamping round bottom flasks. All right, so I'll reassemble. Now, whenever setting up a reaction or a distillation or a reflux, it's really important that this clamp be secure. This is we refer to as the reaction pot. Everything is secure here, and everything is built around that. So this is usually where you start in the assembly of the glassware equipment. We have a lab jack, variable heights. We will often be stirring the solution, so we have magnetic stir bars, much like what you saw in first year. And of course the stir. So if I reassemble a little, plug in, adjust the stir, that's a classic setup for a reaction.